Do different yeast strains create different flavors in mead? We've actually tested this before, but this is a different test. This is the BESTED versus SO4.
Little background story on this. One of our VIP members, Dave, who has been a brewer for quite some time, and he's a pretty respected, experienced brewer, in my opinion. He said in a recent hangout, which we do with our VIPs, that he did a mead that had 71b and another one that had SO4, all things being equal except the yeast. And he said you would not know that they were the same mead.
Now, because we've already tested different yeast strains with meads and didn't find a noticeable difference, it was kind of nitpicky, we kind of thought about how could this be, and something came up.
Yes, and that is when you compare an ale yeast, SO4, to a wine yeast, 71b, a funny thing could happen, and that's that ale yeast can actually break down and ferment maltodextrin. But I don't know that there's enough maltodextrin in honey to make a difference. So that became a conundrum. And when I have a conundrum, I usually formulate an opinion, then I do a little research.
And then it's time to put it to the test.
Exactly. So today we're going to test that, and it's going to be a really, really simple thing. Please don't follow this as a recipe. We're just doing this to make a thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a 1.5 gallon batch of mead, split it into 2 containers, and then we're going to add equal amounts of the yeast to each one. Different yeasts, obviously, and then let them ferment. So, to start with, 3.5 pounds of honey, because I'm making 1.5 gallons. This is a 2-gallon bucket. Another advantage to the new studio. Honey's just on a shelf right over there. Exact measurement that I went over by 0.3 ounces with. Sue me. No, please.
Don't.
No. I like this house. But you know what else we did find at the other house? My pen. Fun with flags. That's right. Anyway, so I will do my notes.
All right, we're done with the scale.
Yep. That is a spot now too. There's something nice to having your setup just for brewing because everything's just where we need it. It's just awesome. Now we need some water. We even have hot and cold running water in the studio now. And yeah, we're using tap water because we found that we have a filter on the house and the water actually is pretty good. So if you don't have good tasting water, you can buy spring water, that kind of thing, or you can filter your own water. I'm going to put 153 ounces of water in here. That way I make exactly 1.5 gallons because 3.5 pounds of honey is 38.5 or so fluid ounces. And, you know, if I want 1.5 gallons, that's 192 ounces, so I need 153. It's actually like 153.5, but, you know, I'm not going to go there.
So our pitcher isn't that big, so I'm going to have to pour it.
Yep. But I can start mixing it while she's getting the other 25 ounces that didn't fit in this one. All right.
And because our pitcher has numbers, I know how much to pour.
Exactly. And to mix it, I'm going to use the spattle. It's a spoon. It's a paddle. It's both. Get yours in the description below. I make this joke, but every single time I mention the pitcher on the channel or we talk about it, someone buys it and literally says, I know it's just a pitcher and this sounds stupid, but it is actually a really awesome pitcher. There's so many things about it. The handle is super, super strong. The markings are in metric and in American numbers. So you can look at a glance and see the equivalence, right? But also the spout is super pointed and sharp. You can pour without spilling, without having to do that. Oh, you got to take a chance and really, you know, give into it. No, it doesn't work like that. This thing is just, it's a pitcher, but it's awesome, okay? So I'm going to mix. So next up, we want to take a reading. Now, according to my estimations, this should be somewhere around 1.080 to 1.084, somewhere in that range. I know we said we wanted it to be all specific and everything before, but it's not that crucial. We just want it to be in that range because that's how much honey I used.
Equal in each container.
Exactly.
Good.
And part of it is I don't want it to be too high because I don't want to surpass what SO4 is made to do, which it says like 10 to 11%. I've seen it go to 13 and 14 before, but I don't want to push that for the sake of this test because that's an extra variable that just isn't necessary for this. So 1.086. Now, I got to get it from this into these. For that, I'm going to use our awesome pitcher again. I could rack it. We talked about that. But hey, you know, I like to live a little dangerously. You can grab the pitcher.
I do like living dangerously. That's why I married Brian.
Is that why? I always wondered about that. So what I'm going to try to do is kind of Just pour this into the pitcher. There's more than will fit in the pitcher. Oh, by the way, everything that we've used here has been sanitized in
The red bucket of sanitization! Which is what I'm dripping in right now. It's the rare footage of Turbos in his natural environment.
All right, to do this, here's how it's going to happen. I'm going to lift this. You're going to tilt the pitcher towards me, and I'm just going to have to go for it. Not a finger. Ha ha. And then, now, somebody's out there freaking out about oxidation. Well,
you
this is
need it at
primary.
this
You need
stage.
oxygen right now, and this is going to be way too complicated. Got to organize some stuff here. Ugh. And I'm going to pour it into these. Now, yeah, you could just use an auto siphon if you really want to. I figured that was easier than trying to do a funnel into this, because that would not work from the bucket. The bucket is a very imprecise pouring vessel. And if I mess up now, it's all going on my lap. So by underfilling that one, I know 3/4 of a gallon is 96 ounces. I did really good though. I am 4 ounces away from 96 ounces in this pitcher right now, which means I need to put 4 ounces into that one. I mean, do they have to be exactly the same? No. The test is still the same because it's the same must. But there we go, 96 ounces in that one. And now we'll do 96 ounces in this one. Didn't even spill one drop.
All right, so now we have our musts of equal dignity in similar fermentation vessels.
Yeah, they're not exactly the same. One has, well, they're similar. This one is actually slightly taller, which is why the levels are not exactly the same.
It tapers quicker.
They're slightly different, but it's okay. They're close enough.
All right, so what's next?
I'm going to put some tape.
The test subjects.
I'm going to put some tape on these.
Oh, he's going to label them.
Labels.
And he puts the
Otherwise,
tape. Brian didn't try it, because that's the way of the Brian.
It stuck.
He did. I'm so pleased. We need a Sharpie out here now.
I'm going to use my pen. My pen of wonderfulness.
Okay.
It'll work.
All right.
So what do we got? 71B and S04. I always want to say US04, but there's actually US05 is the yeast. This is just S04. And she was worried that the markings wouldn't work. I know my pen. Next comes the yeast. From something that we just opened a little while ago, we just made it like today, like literally an hour ago. I have a half packet of 71B. I know I always have a half packet of 71B. It's because I use it a lot. And 71B is a fantastic wine yeast. It's useful for fruity wines to retain their flavors. It also is really good with apples because it is very good at working with malic acid, and it has a low yeast nutrient requirement. But I don't even have a full teaspoon because I can't thwack the packet.
That's why I was asking you if you wanted to.
I'm just going to eyeball the same amount in both. So this is like 3/4 of a teaspoon.
Okay.
The amount of yeast shouldn't matter. It doesn't make more alcohol if you put more yeast in. So don't worry about it. So I'm going to hold on to this thing really good so I don't drop it, because that would be bad. Well, it won't go in anyway. There we go. Okay, next up, SO4. SO4 is probably my favorite ale yeast, mostly because it was one of the... What? Yeah, it just spreads. It's partially because it was the first ale yeast I ever tried, and I just really liked it. It was easy to get when we first started brewing, and it's a great performer. One of our admins, Adam, actually uses this all the time to make his meads. He's rarely strayed from using SO4. He likes the lower ABV stuff, and it's only really rated to, I want to say it's like 9 to 11% or something like that. But I don't care what it's rated for because it outperforms that every single time. So I'd have the 3/4 of a teaspoon of SO4 going in. It's kind of cool. As soon as it hits the water, it goes, wow. And now I'm going to do my non-patented folding technique. I was joking about it being patented, and somebody got all kinds of offended by it. Like, it's just a joke. But I get it.
Okay.
So I'm going to tape it up. And
Getting a patent is actually...
much more complicated than you think.
Yeah.
Because we tried.
So is trademarking.
Trademark. That's what we tried to do. So all that's left. Airlocks and bungs. but turn them all the same way.
Oh.
My OCD, you know. I have to have things a certain way. That way at a glance, I can tell what's happening. It's a weird thing, but it's just what I do. And
Your notes.
my notes with my fancy schmancy masking tape and my note. Now, someone asked the other day, can you show us what's on your note? Now, it was for a video that was like 4 years ago. I don't think we have those notes anymore, but I can show you right now.
You might be surprised.
I know Derica keeps them, but all it really is the title, the date, ingredients, and original reading. Now, as time goes on, I put the date and more readings, and then whatever we did to it, like whether we racked it, whether we added something to it, pasteurized it, and then finally, I usually forget at the end, the tasting, so that we know when the 1 year starts. From the tasting is usually when we start the 1 year clocks. Not when the video comes out, it's from what this says, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's been a year. Well, no, it hasn't, because, you know, but anyway, so.
What are we gonna do now?
I'm gonna let it sit. These are gonna go for probably a couple weeks. I know, I usually set you up for that one. Yeah, I'll do that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I won't. There's so many other catchphrases that I'm not gonna do. But yeah, these are gonna sit, and we'll see you then. Okay, so we started this on August 5th. Today is August 20th. That makes 15 days by my calculation. So it's time for their first check. Why are we doing a check now?
Because we felt like it.
Yeah. They are still probably fermenting. Yeah. And I don't think they're done yet. But I'd like to see, is one a faster fermenter than the other? I don't know.
Yeah, this is a test. We tend to do more on tests just to get more data.
Now, everything's been sanitized and everything's going to be sanitized in between testing. Even if we don't show it, sometimes I cut those out just because this is a test. It's not necessarily a beginner's how-to video. Just quick notes, it is not clear, which means it's probably not done. I don't expect it to be done yet, 15 days.
Super gassy.
So the 71B is at 1.032. Right now, this is Schrodinger's test. All right, everything was sanitized. Time for sample number 2. This is from SO4. They look pretty similar in the fermenter. Like, I don't really see a difference. This one is closer to the light that's over here, so it might look slightly lighter. Actually, it's much clearer. Does it mean anything yet? No. And I'm making a big deal about it not meaning something because every time we do a video like this and we talk about some difference between them,
people just jump on it.
And I mean, even like 2 points difference, people will freak out and think that one is so much better and the other one's like absolute crap.
Nope.
Now, I would like to point something out. The reading on this one is 1.076.
Whoa.
Now that is considerable. That is 44 points of gravity different. That is statistically important.
Yeah.
Now, they started at 1086. This one's at 1076. It's still going. And I can tell because there are bubbles breaking the surface, but I'm starting to get a little bit concerned that it may stall, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've never seen SO4 stall before, like ever. Never had it stall. So what I'm going to do is, in the purposes of testing, we're going to treat them both equally. I'm going to give them both about a 1 minute swirl. And what I mean by that is, well, I'll show you what I mean. That way it should get all the sediment back up off the bottom. It should get any yeast that just kind of maybe said, I think I'll take a week off, back up into activity.
It'll also degas each beverage slightly, which should make the environment more suitable for the yeast to continue their job.
Right. So can you hold the airlock for the 71B?
I can.
And when I say swirl, this is what I mean. I'm making a swirling motion just enough to make like a vortex. But look at all the gas coming out.
It was gassy.
Yep. Now, some people worry about oxidization when you're doing this, or oxidation, however you like to say it. They actually mean different things, but we're not going to get into that. Some people will be very concerned that I am adding oxygen. With the amount of gas in this, I'm not adding anything. I mean, CO2 is heavier than oxygen for one, so if there is any oxygen in there, it's pushing it right out. It's like 5. It's right out. If you got that joke, let me know.
Scoot.
Oh, we're going to swap?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there is a major difference in color.
Yeah.
Now that I have them
this one
like
has a slight greenish tinge.
Yeah.
This one seems more milky and more orangey almost.
Now, I did just mix that one up. So.
Yeah. But I noticed that even before.
This is a lot less gassy.
Yep.
But I did see bubbles breaking the surface. So I believe it is still fermenting, just very, very slowly. I'm hoping it doesn't stall, because if it does, that means I have to treat them both the same way, or else we have a different result from the test, because I want all things to be equal. This has gas in it, which is a good thing. This one is now, it's got some positive pressure.
It's going slowly.
Yep. This one's still pushing out gas.
Yep.
Now that could just simply be degassing. We won't know.
Until next week, when we'll be back for another reading.
Exactly. All right, it's been another week. Let's check. So this, I believe, is 71b.
Yep.
You checked? You made sure? It is. Then the other one must be SO4. Funny how that works out. So the 71b last time was actually at 1.032, which means it was chugging along just fine. Then we have the problem child in the SO4 that just wasn't as much, but it could be now. We don't know. This is why we take readings. It's really amazing how many questions we get from viewers and from a lot of people that are actually answered by, did you take a reading? That, I mean, so many times. And many times, here's what the question is. So I started a Mead like a week ago, and it looks like it stopped. Did it stall? Should I add more yeast? Did you take a reading? 9 times out of 10, it's done. It's not stalled. But I don't know how many people have told me that they added more yeast or did something or changed something after a week because it started slowing down. When they just took a reading, they know that it was actually done. Visual
investigation is just a part of the picture, pun intended. You really need to take the reading to know exactly what's going on inside.
1.016. So still moving. It actually went down another 16 points over the week. So the sample just gets poured back in carefully. Airlock goes back on. Stuff gets resanitized. Now, just something of interest. As we're sitting here looking at these, I can see small bubbles breaking across the surface of both of them. That could be degassing, but usually it's a sign that it's still fermenting, especially when, the numbers say it's still fermenting. So this one was at 1.076, which is only 10 points down from where it started. Things like this ruin our tests. I just need it to work so we can see what the difference is.
Cooperate.
Never seen SO4 be persnickety before. 1.072.
I'm disappointed.
Very. But I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. I cannot imagine any reason why this would not ferment. I know somebody's gonna say, oh, you didn't add nutrients. No, we didn't. And we've done this gravity many times, never had to worry about it. This is barely fermented. I mean, it's literally only moved 16 points total in 2 weeks. Well, 27 minus 5 in 3 weeks. That's a little worrisome. Like, it's barely fermenting at all. Anyway, for today, I'm not going to get too concerned, but what I'm going to do is give these both a good swirl, get some of those gases out, because sometimes that's all it takes is just a good degassing. Everybody likes a good degassing once in a while. Because look at all that. See all that foam? That's gases. And yeast don't like to swim in their own waste, so that's a waste product to them. And that was a pretty good degassment right there. I mean, it wasn't, okay? It wasn't a lot, but it probably will help. They're both going a little bit slow. 3 weeks, we only moved 50 points on one. This one doesn't have nearly as much gas, making me wonder.
Hasn't been nearly as much reactive.
Yeah, true.
So
makes you go, Anyway, something to ponder. I got another week to think about it. Going back on the ferment station. See that? So it's been one more week, and a couple things I want to point out. Right away, when you look at these, there's a color difference. They look significantly different. This SO4 almost looks like lemonade.
Yeah.
Whereas this 71b looks like mead. That right there tells me there's something going on. They're very, very different.
Can you scooch yours to my side? I just want to see if...
Is it the light doing it?
Perhaps
Play of the light? It is not.
It is not.
It is totally not.
Not.
Okay, well, now that we have them here, let's just start taking readings on them. I'm going to do SO4 first. Now, SO4 has been acting like a problem child this time. Do not take that as SO4 is a bad yeast or there's any problems with SO4. Don't take it that way. We've used it hundreds of times and it's been phenomenal. I've never seen it do this, what it's doing. There's bubbles in this. There's activity.
Yeah, but I mean, like I can see little bubbles on this side.
I was watching the airlock bubble on this the other day when we were in here doing some stuff. So it's possible that it moved. I don't know how much. It was at 1072, 1.072.
Now remember, we're fussing over bubbles, but bubbles only means something at one point in time happened. It doesn't necessarily mean something's happening right now, other than it's making bubbles. We could simply be degassing.
1.064. So it actually moved more in the past week than it did the week before. Ah,
Being a slowbie.
yeah, you know what? That's okay. I think it's not indicative of the performance of that yeast normally, but I'm just going to go along with it. Before we put the airlock back on, I'm going to give this a swirl. Okay, let's swap these out.
All right, I should sanitize everything again.
All the reading equipment gets sanitized in between so that we don't throw off the readings. Okay, so now on to 71b, which last time was at 1.016. I would expect it's lower, but it's starting to almost clear. Looks like champagne. 0.996. Now we have
a dilemma.
Right. Here's the thing. I was considering adding some yeast nutrients, just for Mead. You do not want to add anything with diammonium phosphate at this point because it would affect the flavor, and past a certain ABV level, you don't want to do that. So Fermate K and DAP are out, but Fermate O is basically yeast hulls with some nutrients. I was initially going to add it to both, but here's the problem. I would add it to both just to eliminate variables. However, this one, the 71B, is so close to done that now we just added a new variable, Fermate O. So my options are to either just let it ride or add it only to the SO4. I'm afraid to add it to the SO4 because now we just created a variable, making it different from the original.
Yeah.
So what do you think we should do?
I don't know. This is irritating. The problem with tests is that there's so many ways that it can go sideways. This is one of them.
A third option that I just thought of. Maybe we just don't have a viable colony of SO4. What if we added more SO4 yeast to the SO4?
We could.
That is not a variable, because now the amount of yeast doesn't change the flavor of it.
Right.
But another half packet of yeast in there might actually reinvigorate that.
All right, so I need to go see if we have a fresh packet of SO4.
Yes.
All right, so I went into our mini fridge that has all of our yeasts, and I did find my SO4 collection, 2 of which were open and they were half packets, one of which
so we have more.
Had an expiration date of 2023. I don't know which one we added to this, so it is possible that we had a
This one expired in July of 2025.
But at least it's this year.
Yeah. Expirations are kind of like a guideline. Yeah. I don't really follow them as tightly. Because we keep stuff in the fridge, we get many, many years out of yeast before we... Did I? Oh, I did. I cut it right. Cool. I'm just going to use half a packet, though. Maybe those other half packets that are super expired just became... Food. Oh, we could have just done that, too. That's another thing that I was thinking of doing is hulls, but I don't know where our hulls got to. When we moved, we lost stuff. I don't know. It's packed somewhere.
All right, so half a packet of hopefully not expired SO4.
Well, it is expired, but hopefully not dead. Now, the reason for using just more yeast is, well, A, that's a great way to just jumpstart a brew, is sometimes adding more yeast is all it really takes. But also by using the same yeast, we don't throw off the test. It's still the same test, okay? We just ended up using a little bit more yeast than we did in the 71B, but the 71B is done.
One of the misconceptions, and I'm just gonna quick talk about it right now, is that the yeast that you put in is the yeast that you end up with, and that is totally not true.
Multi-generational difference.
As soon as those yeasts are rehydrated and consuming the oxygen, they are actually building their colony, meaning they're multiplying, they're becoming more yeasts, they're getting the party together, so that way they can get to work. So even those yeasts that we have in there aren't going to be the yeasts that are going to be fermenting. They're going to do the same thing.
They're going to build a new colony. They're going to multiply hundreds of times over what we put in. That also, that's an interesting concept. The yeast consume the oxygen. That makes it a non-oxidized state, which means even if we had oxidized this, putting more yeast in would actually eliminate the oxygen.
Curious.
I had never considered that. That's an interesting concept. Oh boy. But it only works for dry things, for preservation.
Yeah.
Still something to think about. Anyway, so we put more yeast in this. I'm going to put the label back on. Oh, let me mark it. half packet of yeast. And we're gonna put these back in the ferment station. See you in another week. It's been one more week. When last we looked at the 71B, it was at 0.996. Where is it today? Only one way to find out. Well, actually there's a few ways, but we're using a hydrometer. I don't expect that it moved much, and if it did, great. It's starting to clear. It really doesn't matter. It actually looks like it did go down. No, 0.996, same. Put our sample back in nice and careful. Airlock goes back on. Everything goes into turbos. Now on to the problem child of this experiment, which has been the SO4. We did add another batch of yeast last week. It looked like it's been bubbling for a while, so hopefully it did something, anything more than it did before. It is not clear at all. It's got some gas, but not a tremendous amount. Didn't move a lot. Oh, actually, it was at 1.064. Now it's looking like 1.048. So it actually moved like 18, 20 points in a week. Okay, we'll give it another week. But I don't think we need to keep checking the 71B. I think that one's...
I think it's done.
It's done. It's done.
You gotta catch up.
Yeah. All right, sample back in, airlock back on, notes taken, label stuck on. See you next week. Okay, it's been another week.
The visual differences are now more obvious.
Yeah, that looks like lemonade. That looks like apple juice. This is the Beast 71B, and this is SO4. So 71B didn't move last week. It was 0.996, 2 weeks in a row. I'm not wasting any more time checking it. We're gonna check SO4 instead. That's the problem, child. Needs to finish. It was a 1.048. I don't know what it's doing.
I think it's still fermenting.
It's gonna invalidate my entire test. 1.026, it went 20 points. I'm thinking maybe we're finally getting close to something, but only time will tell.
Yeah, we still gotta wait.
Yeah. We've noticed since the move that our brews are taking longer, and you know what? That's okay. We just have to adjust to that for filming schedules and such, but no big deal.
Yeah. And it helps illustrate that each space, physical space, is going to be slightly different brewing environment. So even if you have roughly the same temperatures, there's other things at play here that may be altering how the yeasts feel about doing their job.
Now, I have a feeling that part of the reason why things are taking longer is because we're actually stressing the yeast slightly, because in the old house, we kept the house between 70 and 75. In this house, this space, the AC unit is saying 78. The tilt was calling it 75, but that means that's at least a few degrees higher than the consistent temperature in the old house. Now it's consistently that temperature.
Sure.
That's the key. So in the old house, we had a higher and a lower, so it changed, which might not have been good for the yeast. So maybe it was stressed then, maybe it's not stressed now. I don't know. But the other thing that's important, sorry, what were you gonna say?
The odd thing is that if winter ever hits Florida, which it does on occasion, this room is a garage.
That has a heat unit.
We're gonna turn it to heat?
We'll have to.
Okay.
I don't want it to drop into the 60s and 50s.
It's just craziness.
Yeah, the lowest we'll really get is like 50s, but even that is 20 degrees different. I don't want to shock our brews with that. So yeah, we'd be putting the heat on. Anyway, what I wanted to say is a slower fermentation isn't a bad thing. A lot of people want to get fermentation as quick as possible. The only people that fermentation as fast as possible is useful for is distillers, because they just need the alcohol and then their real magic happens afterwards. Now, that's my understanding. I could be kind of wrong, and I'm probably a little bit wrong. But for a fermenter, someone who ferments wines, meads, ciders, and beers, you want a more steady progression rather than a super aggressive, highly volatile. Because here's why. If you smell your airlocks, and I know you do, I know you smell your airlock. If you do, and it smells like anything, that is flavors and aromas coming out of your brew that will never go back in. Now, some of that you do want it to release because there's gases and things like that that are coming out. So don't get the idea that you can stop it off. Don't do that. You'll make a bomb. Trust me, it's dangerous. But a very aggressive fermentation that's constantly bubbling out very aggressively is actually losing some flavors and some aromas. How much? I don't know. There's no way to know. There's no way to measure that. But I feel like slow and steady wins the race. Just like everything else about home brewing, let it do its thing. Give it time and let it take its time. Forcing it to go faster is not always the answer, especially if you are using temperature to do it. Like if you're raising the temperature of these things, depending on the yeast you're using, you could be causing off flavors. You could be making weird esters. Now, sometimes that's desirable. Certain yeast, like Kveik yeast, it's desirable. But with most yeast, you have a working range. And if you find the range that works best for that yeast, that's where you should be fermenting at. Or find your working environment that you have and find yeast that work best in that. And that we may have to make some adjustments. Although 71B has been working phenomenally well in this new environment. SO4, this time, but we haven't used it other than this.
All right. So we'll see you in another week.
Yep. Okay. It's been another week. Now, I would like to point out the difference if we haven't done that already. It is night and day difference. So something occurred to me too, and I'll take a reading while I'm talking about it. Dave said that they'd be night and day. He said you would not know that they were the same brew. I have to agree with him already. However, he didn't actually say what would be different, now that I'm thinking about it. We don't really know what's going to be different, but so far,
everything is
they are not the same at all. I mean, this looks like lemonade. This just does not look like something typical of SO4. It's gassy though, so maybe it's still going. I'm hoping it's closer to the 1.000 mark like the other one is, because I'm not even checking the 71B anymore. There's no point. It was at 996. 1.016. So that means it dropped another 10 points in another week.
Okay.
It's still going. This is now the Energizer test, but that's okay.
It's not the Energizer bunny, though. It's the Energizer tortoise.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's perfect. I like that. The Energizer tortoise. But in reality, this is really only about 7 weeks. Yeah, it's only about 7 weeks. So it's not that bad. For us, it just seems like it's taking forever, because I thought this would be, okay, 2-3 weeks, done, you know? Now, I'm not going to blame the SO4 for the bad yeast that we had. And anytime you have a stall like that, it's always hard to get it going again. So that's what we're experiencing here. That's why it's taking so long. So don't think that the SO4 is going to take longer than the 71B. All things being equal, they should probably be about the same. Just for that. But anyway, we're going to put these away. One more week. See you then. Okay, it's another week, and we are looking at iced tea versus lemonade. I swear we're making Arnold Palmer's around here or something. They could not look more dissimilar if we tried.
Yeah.
But you all know they're the same exact ingredients. Now, we have a little bit of a problem, a quandary, if you will. And that is that they're very different. But the idea is they're supposed to be very different. But they're not supposed to be different in the way that I am afraid they might be different. And that is, I think the SO4 is not going to be completely dry like the 71B is, which leaves us in a bit of a difficult situation trying to do a taste comparison, because if one's sweet and one's dry, obviously it's going to taste completely different. So my thought was, first, let's hope that the SO4 went dry. If it didn't, and it looks like it may have gone much closer to dry. It was at 1.016 last time. You know, it's at 1.008.
Now, I did notice yesterday, I believe it was, that this was still bubbling. Now, we know that bubbles only mean that something at one point happened. So it could simply be off-gassing, or it could be very, very slowly still fermenting.
I think the point has been proven. They make very, very different things.
Yeah.
So here's my suggestion. Why don't we taste them as they are, and then maybe sweeten this one in the glass a little bit to match that one, and then see if the differences persist.
Sure, that works for me.
Okay, let's do that. All right, so first up, we're going to have the SO4 in this glass, just a little. It is not clear. I mean, it looks like lemonade. I wasn't even joking. No. I don't think there's any worry about knowing which is which. I'm pretty sure that is a foregone conclusion. There's an added complication in this, if you want to call it that. And that's that technically the 71B has aged already, which makes this a little bit more difficult to test. But I'm not going to get that crazy about it because, oh my God, we're not scientists, okay? We do the best we can to make it an equal test, but I feel like most people who are going to do this or testing this are going to do it similar to how we did in real world situation. Like, this is pretty much what we do. This is how we test things. So first, let me put the 71B over there. I'm going to give them a smell.
I think we've talked about the appearance enough that we don't need to rehash that. You can see from the jugs from your point of view.
Okay, 71B has a little bit of a turpentine-y smell. The SO4 does not. It's a little fresher. Now, this is something that we're going to be testing soon too, is 71B versus some other yeasts, because I've been hearing complaints, like people saying they don't like the flavors. So I'm really curious about that. It's a great performer, but does it give the best flavor? Oh, wow. I want you to smell those and see what you think. You're going to have a tough time swirling the SO4. I filled it kind of full. I'm sorry.
Huh.
They smell completely different to me.
They do.
The 71B, I'll wait for you. I'm not getting a lot off the SO4, I'll be honest.
It's like a alcohol youth combo.
It's kind of turpentine-y, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Which, I mean, it fermented fine. It was good. Just a little young, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, now after getting used to it a little bit, I got a little bit of the fruitiness.
The SO4, I'm getting more like citrus notes on the aroma.
But it's more pleasant, isn't it?
Yeah.
It smells much more pleasant to me.
I wonder...
Slower fermentation.
So fermentation...
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Okay, go ahead, take your taste.
I don't want to taste first. I don't know. I'll do this first.
Doesn't matter. Taste one, then the other, then the other, then the one. Forward and backward and forward. Now remember, there's a difference in sweetness level here too. So I'm guessing we're probably going to appreciate the SO4 one a little bit more. But that's a guess. Yeah, the 71B has technically been aging for about a month at this point, since it stopped fermentation. Whereas I'm pretty certain the SO4 is still going to some extent, albeit slowly. Or are you still going your forward and backward and forward?
Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
I mean, I'm going to say right off the bat, Dave was right.
Yeah. Tasting them, and we've seen this before, when you taste one and then you taste the other and then you reverse the order, it is drastically different.
SO4 tastes lemony.
Yeah. Like the citrusy notes that I was getting on the aroma, I'm getting on the flavor as well. And if I
just got goosebumps.
If I drink the 71B first and then follow it with the SO4, I'm getting a dry mead sensation on the 71B, and then I'm getting the citrusy floral, ever so slightly sweet combination on the SO4. But then if I do the SO4 first, I'm still getting the same flavor profile that I had before, but then following it with the 71B, I'm getting nothing. No flavor, nothing. Like water until the very end. And then it's like that weird funky...
Are you saying the SO4 gives you nothing?
Alcohol, no.
Oh, the 71B. Okay. I just got goosebumps twice from the 71B. If you watch our tasting room show, you know that when I get goosebumps, that's not a good thing. Usually means it's harsh and just discordant for me. So I just tasted that. Oh my God, they're night and day.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, Dave said that you would swear they were different brews. They weren't the same.
He's right.
Absolutely.
He's right. And
this isn't even slightly. This is completely different flavors.
Yeah. And there wasn't that much residual sweetness left in the SO4.
No.
In my opinion.
It's got 12 points more sweetness. So let's be fair about this.
Okay. So Brian is going to attempt.
I'm just going to add like a drop of honey to it and mix it in. I'm not even going to measure it or anything because there's just no real way to... It's about that much probably. Like it's so little. I happen to have a spoon.
We don't have a big enough sample to get a reading on it, so...
Yeah. But I just wanted to add a little bit of sweetness to it to give it back something. Mixy, mixy, mix.
It's funny because our friend and admin, Adam, uses SO4 basically for everything. And I'm starting to think maybe he's onto something.
Well, he has said that, you know.
Yeah, wow.
And the problem that I had with it, though, is it didn't ferment real well.
It was a slow ferment.
But I think we
Now,
had old yeast.
We had old yeast. We figured that part out. So I think we kind of put this test at a disadvantage from the beginning. And I'm going to be transparent about that because I know somebody's going to call us out about it. Okay?
Sure.
We call ourselves out about it, so it's not necessary.
Well, every test has its flaws and has its drawbacks.
Sure.
In this test, it was that we almost lost the test completely because the SO4 was old yeast and wasn't fermenting.
Right.
But we pulled it back.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I was to rate what I just tasted, the 71B is like a 3, and the SO4 is like a 6.5.
I could agree with that.
Not spectacular, but way, way better.
Yeah.
So is it possible that we like 71B only when we oversweeten things and mask the flavors?
It could be.
I never thought of that before.
That's
Some serious self-realization right there.
whoa.
Okay.
Our
so
favorite yeast may, in fact, be doing us a disservice.
that is a possibility. And you know what? I am open to that. If that is the truth and that's what's happening, I'm fine with that. But I think this is making me want to do another test, 71B versus something else to see.
Sure.
Okay. Now that I have a smaller sample. Oh, yeah. This is like, it's got a lemon flavor, but it's not like lemonade.
No. It's just like a little pop of citrus, like a little brightness.
Here, I'll let you go first. Because, gentlemen and all.
All right, so I'm going to do the crazy SO4 first.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know somebody's going to say, why didn't you wait until the SO4 completely finished? Because it could be months before that happens. And we're not trying to rush it, but at the same token, those few extra points aren't going to change the flavor profile completely. Where the difference is just so night and day that I'm not even the least bit concerned. I was actually going to mix these when we were done and just store it as one. I'm not sure I want to do that anymore. I think I want to keep the 71B separate and do something with it, like add fruit or something to it to really make it something different because it's unpleasant. I think I got the sweetness right though. Mm-hmm. A little watery.
Yeah.
Still has the kind of not pleasant taste. That's the 71B. Wow. Less watery.
Definitely less watery.
A little more tannic. A little acidic.
How is that possible?
It's super complex compared to this.
Absolutely.
Like, the SO4 made a far superior mead.
Is this perhaps a little petulant? And is that creating more of a mouthfeel?
I don't think so, but let's take another quick sample and I will stir it up to sorry. Yes, I licked the end of this. We're married. But if I mix this up a little, it takes the carbonation out. There's a little bit of bubbles here, but I don't think there's a lot. No more. I
was just trying to figure out why is it so much better.
I saw bubbles in the bottom of the 71B
Why is
glass
it so much better?
the first time around, so I'm fairly certain this one's petulant too. All right. Even the smell is literally like 2 to 3 shades away from each other.
Yeah.
These are not even, like I have said before many times when we do tests like this, these are 5% away from each other. These are 10. These are 80% away from each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they're nothing alike.
I went into this test, full transparency, I went into this test thinking, this is a stupid test. We've done tests like this before. Why are we doing another test like this? How could it be any different? Blah, 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 blah. And now here I am in front of you going, I just don't understand. I don't understand.
So
Mind blown.
there could be a few things at work here. First, each yeast produces different flavors and esters, which is the thing. One of them is an ale yeast. SO4 is an ale yeast, which means it can actually break down maltodextrin and things like that. That's not actually present in honey, as far as I know. So the extra that it brings to the party isn't really coming into play here. But
this is like water. They got a little bit of honey added to it.
Yeah.
And then it has a funky note. So like we threw in some grain alcohol or something in it just to get
it does kind of taste like we added Everclear.
It's just kind of...
That's what this tastes like. It tastes like mead that's been fortified with Everclear.
This tastes like a complex brew. Like we added some acid to it, whether it be a citrus note itself.
It feels like a little tiny bit of lemon zest added to it.
It feels like it has some tannin additive to it as well, because you're getting a nice mouth feel, even with the limited amount of sweetness. Now,
What's the alcohol
this
on this?
could be one of those other things that we're testing, where when you allow the residual sweetness to remain, it's a different sweetness.
That's a thing too. Yeah.
Than if you just back sweeten afterwards. So I think there's a couple of things going on here that are creating these differences, but I'm glad I'm sitting down because I'm shocked. I would have not have guessed this at all.
Yep. When Dave said it, he said it in one of our Zoom hangouts, and I was like, no way, it can't be that good. And then he pushed it, so I said, okay, let me try. By the way, the 71B is 11.8%, and which is probably a little bit lower in the sweetened one because I did dilute it just slightly. So let's call it like 11%-ish versus 10.2%. So there's a 1% alcohol difference between them.
That isn't...
I don't think that's significant enough to make that much change. When I cannot stress enough, when I say these are night and day, I would swear it was different honeys, different gravity levels, different everything. And one of them was like adjusted after the fact and the other one was just left alone.
Sure.
And I mean, this one seems like had extra stuff done to it, more additives, more alterations at the end. And this one just got it was the redheaded stepchild just thrown in the corner and left alone. That's how different they are.
Right. Dave,
shocking.
If you are up to it, please write in the comment section below what your experiences were when you did the test. And anybody else who's done a test similar to this, please share with us your experiences as well, because getting all that information from different areas, because we all know fermentations act a little differently in each unique environment. So stockpiling all that information together in one place will be great for us to see if there's a similarity across the board or vast differences across the board, because that might help us narrow down, well, this might be a better choice if you're in this area, and this might be a better choice if you're in a different area.
Something I'd like to say, though, this comes up a lot where people think that they're going to ruin their brew if they choose the wrong yeast. While there are differences between yeast, usually the difference is like less than 10 or 20% finished product.
Except in this example.
This is an extreme example, and I don't really have an explanation why it's that different, okay? I don't think it's just the yeast. I think there's more at play here.
All right, so 71B is a wine yeast, and S04 is an ale yeast.
Yes.
So it's possible that those specific strain differences are what is causing
That's my thought.
the greater disparity, rather than if you just did a wine yeast versus a wine yeast.
Because, like I said, mead, cider, and wine yeasts are all in the same family, if you will. Like, they're all much more closely related. Ale yeasts are a little bit different. They have extra components to them, like chromium, and there's a couple other minerals and elements that are in ale yeast that are not as present in wine yeast, or at all in wine yeast in some cases. And that could be causing a complete difference in flavor.
Yeah.
I'm still going to hold to a wine yeast versus a wine yeast versus a wine yeast. They're going to be 10 or 20% different at most. But wine versus ale, starting to see that there's more to it.
And I think we're going to revisit the wine versus wine, particularly versus 71B, to see.
Yep. Is 71B suddenly going to not be the beast anymore?
Bum, bum, bum.
That's a possibility. We'll have to come up with a test.
Yeah.
But anyway, hope you got something out of this. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching and have a great day.
Bye-bye.